Hello, YouTube viewers. Naked Trevor here with my thoughts on Dune, the 2021 movie, which I can't believe it's 2021. It should have came out in 2020, but I think that's a big part of why the movie has been struggling and hasn't had a larger word of mouth and more people talking about it, because I think it was overall a fantastic movie with one of the best adaptations that I've ever seen from book to movie. A lot of people want this to be the new Star Wars, but I don't think that's a good thing. I think the only thing that this could benefit that would be Star Wars like is an opening crawl. Maybe give you a little bit of backstory on why the human race doesn't use computers, and the little bit more information on who the Bene Gesserit are in respect to the great houses of human civilization and what we've done as far as the past 20,000 years in this great Dune mythology. I thought that the cinematography was fantastic. Greg Fraser, absolutely superb job on this movie. He's done work on, I think, Rogue One and Mandalorian recently, but this had a much more symmetrical look to every shot, a huge conveyance of scale. I loved the space shots, although I wish you would have been able to see the act of folding space. They show the acolytes with their fish globe space heads, but I'm hoping in the second movie we get to see the real deal, the full-on space navigators and the actual act of folding space, because it was cool to see it subtly done. I like that they didn't actually show it on the nose, but it would have been more interesting to see something. Because that David Lynch portrayal with the vagina noses was just. I would like to have that cleansed and a new imagery put in my mind of what the space navigators are instead of the weird 1984 Dune. You can really tell that everybody's performance is at their best. They are all doing a great job. The only person I would say was kind of falling flat for me, at least, was Dave Bautista and his screaming. I think it would have been better if he was a little bit more subtle, but Oscar Isaac, fantastic. I think that the movie does a great job of setting up Paul's abilities as far as a fighter in the very beginning of the movie with the fight scene with Gurney, and just overall the portrayal. He looks very formidable for someone who's so young. You don't expect it when he comes in with these fast moves, and at the end when he bests a man and he's still a boy. The Gom Jabbar scene is fantastic. Jessica repeating the Bene Gesserit mantra as Paul is being tested. Paul's glare back is the Reverend Mother's subtle reaction of fear, all just done superbly well. It's subtle, but you can see the look in the actors' eyes, and that is where their soul is. In this movie, it just captures it perfectly between these two. Well, it's such a great moment in the film. You see Paul's power, you see her fear as she cowers in his glare, and as he's the one being tested. It's a great moment in the movie and really well done on everybody. The whole presentation is just some of the best that they've put to film. Spaceships underwater are cool and all, but it just doesn't. I don't understand why. It just, for all of the cool visuals that they have, I don't understand this one. This could just be me, but it just made me think of Star Wars and the stupid Star Destroyers from Rise of Skywalker coming out from underneath the snow or whatever it was on the testicle planet. I don't get it. I don't understand. It was cool looking, but I like it when things are more practical. Most of what this movie does is show a practical world. That part took me out. The movie does a great job of showing Paul being skeptical of the Bene Gesserit and their uh, planting of the mythology, the Lisan al Gaib, and him showing that they're seeing what they were told to see is the perfect foreshadowing of him being the reluctant hero, and then later on embracing the Lisan al Gaib prophecy and being, claiming he is the Kwisatz Haderach. The Shadat Mape scene is really well done. However, I thought it was curious that when she gives her the crysknife and she shows it to her, that she doesn't bloody it before putting it away. I thought this was a very important thing in the book, and important thing aspect to crysknives, and the fact that this movie is such a faithful adaptation. Even at the end, when the tribe has their crysknives out and they don't bloody them, they cut their wrists before they put them away. I just thought it was very curious that this was overlooked, being that this movie had so much attention to detail. I can't stress enough how much I loved every bit of the set design, and the movie has a great moment right before the hunter-seeker scene where Paul is looking at a hologram of a Moadib, and the look of curiosity, the youthful joy on his face is perfectly conveyed. Timothée does a great job in this role. He's one of my favorite parts of the movie. I think that he just absolutely kills it. Was made to play this role. I mean, he really does. It seems that it was perfect casting on everybody's part. The ornithopters were beautifully brought to life. I just pictured them exactly like they portrayed them. I can't express how awesome that is to finally see it brought to life. Great job on the ornithopters, and apparently they were actually built practically for the actors to film on. It wasn't just green screen on a set. They were out there in the desert with these big ass props, which is just awesome. Totally incredible. I think the changing of the character Dr. Liet Kynes isn't really a big deal. As long as they get the character right, the person who's playing it, it doesn't matter. And I think she did a great job. I think that the part was just wonderfully executed. I don't think it's a big deal that they changed it to a woman or the race at all. Don't think it matters. It was really cool to see Salusa Secundus. The Sardaukar were very interesting. The whole throat singing and just the weird men tied upside down with the blood, and it's awesome. I loved it. Fantastic. And the Sardaukar need to be scary. They need to be the formidable force that the Emperor uses. So they did the right thing of making them really strange and scary. I wish there was a little bit more explanation to their home world and the brutal prison planet that it is, but I guess that's for people who want to read the book. Now that I've thoroughly gushed about the movie, let me give a little bit of my negative aspects to it. I wish that the musical score had been a little bit more thematic. There's a lot of great moments to it, but overall, there's nothing that's really powerful and memorable. The guttural throat singing is cool, and the drums are fantastic, and the interesting language and different voices that they use is all good. I like it, but I think that it would have benefited if it had a more orchestral thematic themes, like things that you could recognize if you heard on their own. A couple of the characters could have used more time. I think the Baron and Piter and the Beast, they all could have used some more screen time and actually shown how villainous and They do a great job on showing their themes, but the plots within plots that the book has could have been there could have been more to it. They could have shown more of them. I would have liked to have seen more at least. And also Dr. Yui, and I think if they had given him more screen time, his betrayal would have been more impactful. I think since it was so limited, it just kind of happens and you move on. And for people who know the story, that's fine. But I think for the general audience, it's could have used more of getting to know Dr. Yui and why it was so substantial that he betrayed them and how he betrayed him with his imperial conditioning and the circumstances of it all. The moment when the Baron has the Duke, Leto, is fantastic. Even after he has him paralyzed and literally on his table naked, he's still afraid. He still has to activate his shield because he doesn't know what this man is capable of. And it just goes to show you that he does kill everyone in the room. He should be afraid. And there's a very quick moment in which he refers to him as his cousin, which I think is fantastic. It's really showing that the filmmakers are trusting that the audience is smart enough to know that there's more to it than just this. And, it's building intrigue, and I hope that they explore more of it. I hope that there's a little bit better of an explanation of the houses and the relationship of the Bene Gesserit to them and what they've been doing breeding these houses and how important Paul is. They started, but there needs to be more. I think there should be more. The sandworms really do have a great design. I love the big gaping maw that's constantly devouring as they move through the desert. It's truly scary. It would have been cool to see the opening mouth like the 84 Dune, but I think that design is more natural. It has a more intrinsic nature to it, and it's also scarier because they don't stop. Like, it's just gonna eat whatever's there. Like, you see it when it eats the mining craft. Like, it doesn't matter. It will be devoured. Paul's visions of Jamis is brilliant. I love the way that they did it. He could have gone either way, and that's what it shows, that even though he did kill him, that it still trains him and shows him these lessons that they were shown to him, and the means to that end may not be the same, but it still is what is. It still teaches him to be a man murdering this person. And it would have been interesting to see it a little bit more ethereal. I like his visions, but they look too realistic. It needs to be something that conveys an option, that when you're looking at your reflection in water, it's not exactly what you're seeing. It's a little bit distorted. It could be different, and there should be more options to the same vision. Speaking of the visions, Chani mostly is visions in the movie. I don't think that Zendaya is as great as everyone says, but then again, I haven't really seen her in a whole lot. I don't know. All I've seen her is in Spider-Man, and she could be anyone. Doesn't matter. And kind of see it the same way in this. In fact, when I see her, it kind of takes me out of it because all I'm seeing is Zendaya. But again, I think she's fine because whatever, we'll see in the next movie. Hopefully she has a bigger part and can do more than just squint and, whatever it is that she's doing in the movie. And then, well, the movie just kind of ends. I think the scene with Jamis was a good climax to the movie, and I remember sitting in the theater thinking that this is it. I understood that this is, the end of the movie. It had been here for quite some time, but I think they could have done a better job at setting up the prospects for the next movie. this one that just kind of stops short. If they'd have done more on, you know, how wonderful the life is that the Fremen lead, and you know what it's going to mean to Paul and where his place is in it, it could have been more uplifting to like a prospect of the future, like what could happen in this next movie, as it kind of ends with. And I like that the fact that it ends on a little bit of a downer. I mean, you know, the Duke's dead. They've been basically alienated to left to die in the desert. Like in one respect, it's very downer of an Empire type ending, but in the other, if you know where this story's going, you know that it's very uplifting in his, you know, savior of these people and savior of this planet. So I'm super excited. They have since announced that they are going to make a sequel, and thank goodness, because it would have been awful that if this movie just stood alone, because it has a horrible ending if it just stood alone. Like I honestly would have, if they would not be making the next one, it would have changed my opinion on this movie entirely, because if they don't follow it up, then what's the point of all this, you know? So I'm glad that we'll at least get the ending of the first book, because to me, it's probably the best one of the whole series. I like where it goes, don't get me wrong, but the first book is just all encompassing. It does a great job of telling that one story, beginning to end. So here's to hoping that they can pull it off with the second one, because so far the setup it's a perfect setup, and you know I can't wait to see what comes next. And thank you guys for watching. Bye bye.